The Anvarian Empire had conquered 50 star systems over 300 years. No one could stop them. Their ships were bigger and stronger than any others in the galaxy. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their soldiers never showed fear or mercy. Admiral Zelan stood on Thecaman deck of the Imperial Dreadnought Inevitable. His forearms were full dead behind his back as he watched the view screen, the planet below. Terius IV was putting up a fight. It would not matter. None of their fights ever mattered. Status report. Zexalon said. His voice was like dry leaves rustling. Digger Sub-Commander Vectra approached and bowed her head. Her exoskeleton glid as she moved. Their orbital defenses are at 20% capacity. Our first wave has breached the atmosphere. Ground forces report minimal resistance. Zexalon's mouthparts twitched in what passed for a smile among the Nilvarians. How long until full surrender? 3 hours, Admiral. Perhaps 4. Acceptable. Prepare the assimilation protocols. This was how it always went. The Anvarians would arrive, they would attack, the defenders would fight. And Diathan, the survivors, would become workers in the Great Hive. Some planets lasted days. Most lasted hours. None had ever turned back. The Anvarian fleet, Admiral called out the Pushwan. Sensor operator, we are detecting a transmission from the far side of the system. Zexalon turned his large compound eyes toward the officer. A distress call? No. Admiral, it appears to be a warning, not from the Terrian. It's in a language we haven't encountered before. Show me. The main screen changed to show a small ship moving at high speed away from the system. It was unlike any vessel they had seen before, sleek and practical, with no wasted space or decorative elements. Translate the message, Zexalon ordered. After a moment, words appeared on screen. Attention, unknown hostile forces. This is Scout Vessel Aurora from the United Earth Alliance. We have witnessed your unprovoked attack on the Terrian people. The UEA does not tolerate aggression against peaceful civilizations. You have been warned. Zexalon made a clicking sound that indicated amusement. They warn us. Scan that vessel. Vextra worked at her consolisimal scout ship. Minimal weapons, fast engines, only 4 life forms aboard. Destroy it. It has already jumped to faster than light speed. Admiral Zexalon is the matter with a wave of his upper right arm. It is of no consequence. Another species that will soon learn its place in our empire. Continue the invasion as predicted. Terius IV fell in just over 3 hours. The Anvarians added another world to their growing empire and continued their march across Thesters. They had already plotted their next 10 conquests. Nothing would stand in their way. 2 weeks later, at the edge of known space, Lieutenant Frank Mason plotted a course back to Earth. The Aurora had pushed its engines hard to get home quickly. The crew was tense, but determined. Final jump in 30 seconds. Frank announced to the small bridge crew. Captain Lisa Reeves nodded. She had dark circles under her eyes from lack of sleep since witnessing the fall of Terius IV. None of them had slept well. I still can't believe what we saw, said communications officer Jeff Holland. Those aliens just took the planet. 6 billion people, just like that. Lisa's jaw tightened, and they've done it 50 times before. According to what we learned from the Tyrian broadcast's science officer Diane Chun looked up from her station. Tyrian called them the Anvarians from what I could translate of their distress calls. They're a hive specially organized, single-minded. They don't negotiate or accept foreigners. Earth needs to know. Lisa said firmly. The Security Council needs to see our recordings though. Aurora emerged from its final jump near Earth's outer defense perimeter. Almost immediately, they were hailed by Border Command. Scout Vessel Aurora, you're 3 weeks early from your exploration mission. Explain your premature return, came the stern voice over the com. This is Captain Lisa Reeves. Authorization code Sierra 97 Delta. We have witnessed an aggressive alien species conquering the Terrian system. Requesting emergency meeting with the Security Council. There was a long pause. Authorization confirmed. You are cleared for direct approach to Earth defense. Station Alpha, Admiral Joe Garcia will meet you upon arrival. Admiral Garcia was a tall man with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. He'd have fought in the Proxima Centauri conflict and had seen his share of combat, but as he watched the Aurora's recordings of the Anvarian attack, his face grew increasingly grim. How many ships would you estimate were in their fleet? He asked when the recording ended. Lisa took a deep breath. At least 200 that we could detect, but their main dreadnought alone was nearly the size of our largest space station. Garcia studied the tactical display, showing the Envarian ships. Their technology is advanced. Those energy weapons, I've never seen anything like them, sir. Diane stepped forward. Based on their attack pattern and the rate at which they've been expanding, I believe they will reach human-controlled space within 6 months. The Admiral stood up straight. The Council needs to see this immediately. Humanity has enjoyed relative peace since the Proxima conflict, but we've continued building our fleet. We have 60 combat-ready warships with another 20 nearing completion. Will that be enough? Frank asked, his voice quiet. Garcia didn't answer directly. Captain Reeves, your crew has done Earth a great service. You've given us time to prepare. The next day, the Security Council viewed the Aurora's recordings. The 12 representatives from Earth's unified governments sat in stunned silence as they watched the Envarians methodically take apart the Terrian defenses. They show no mercy, said Councillor Olivia Martinez from the South American Union. No interest in diplomacy. Their biology suggests a hive mentality, noted Councillor Ben Thompson of the Pacific Alliance. They may not even understand the concept of negotiation. As we do, Admiral Garcia stood before them, hands clasped behind his back. We need to mobilize the fleet immediately. Every shipyard must be put on emergency footing. All ships under construction must be expedited. You're talking about a war footing, said Councillor Ryan Foster of the North American Coalition. I'm talking about survival. Garcia replied, these Envarians have conquered 50 worlds. They've never been stopped. We need to be the first. The Council voted unanimously to prepare for war within days. Humanity began the largest military buildup in its history. Shipyards across the solar system worked around the clock. Reserve officers were called up to active duty. Training programs were accelerated on the bridge of the newly commissioned Warship. USS Defender Commander Eric Wells reviewed his orders. Defender was one of Earth's newest and most advanced vessels. It carried experimental weapons and defense systems that had never been field-tested. Lieutenant Amber Garrett, reporting for duty. Sir, said a young woman with short brown hair as she stepped onto the bridge. Welcome aboard, Lieutenant. You're our new tactical officer. Yes, sir. Graduated top of my class at the Academy. Eric nodded. Good. We're going to need the best. We ship out tomorrow to establish a forward defense line at Proxima Centauri. Amber studied mission briefing on her tablet. Do you think we can stop them, sir, these Envarians? Eric looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, an unstoppable force was moving toward Earth, conquering everything in its path. They've never faced humans before. Lieutenant, we'll show them why that was their mistake. 3 months passed since the Aurora brought its warning to Earth. The human fleet grew stronger each day. New ships joined the defense line at Proxima Centauri. Weapons were tested. Plans were made. Everyone worked without risk. Commander Eric Wells sat in his office aboard the USS Defender. The ship had become home to him and his crew. They had trained together, preparing for the fight that was coming. Eric studied Thelidist intelligence reports. The Novarians had conquered 2 more systems. They were getting closer. A knock on his door pulled him from his thoughts. Enter, he called. Lieutenant Amber Garrett stepped inside. Sir, we've received new orders from Admiral Garcia. Eric took the data pad she offered. He read quickly, then looked up with surprise. They want us to move beyond Proxima into the Yao Arcturus system? Yes, sir. Intelligence believes the Envarians will pass through there. Next, Eric stood up and moved to the star map on his wall. Arcturus was far from Earth's normal patrol routes. It would put the Defender alone at the edge of known space. Where to set up early warning beacons and gather intelligence on Envarian movements. Amber explained, if possible, we should observe their tactics without engaging. When do we leave? Admiral wants us underway in 6 hours. Eric nodded. Inform the crew. Tell Chief Engineer Brad Miller I need our new stealth systems at 100%. Yes, sir. Amber hesitated at the door. Commander will be the first humans to face these aliens directly. I know, Lieutenant. Let's make sure we're not Thelis. The USS Defender dropped out of faster than light travel at the edge of the Arcturus system. It was a beautiful system with 2 habitable planets. Both had small colonies of peaceful traders from various species. None had strong defenses. Stealth systems. Engagedanist engineer Brad Miller from his station, "We're running silent." Eric studied the main view screen. "Any sign?" Often variant ship's communications officer Kelly Wright shook her head. "Nothing yet, sir, but I'm picking up a lot of frightened chatter from the colonies. Word has spread about what happened to Terrius. Position us near the outer asteroid belt." Eric ordered, "We'll use the magnetic interference to help mask our signature for 3 days." The Defender waited and watched. The crew was tense but ready. They had trained for this moment. Earth was counting on the information. They would gather on Thefforth Day. Alarms sounded across the bridge. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. Amber reported from tactical. Her voice was steady despite the fear she must have felt. Eric moved to his command chair. On-screen maximum magnification. The view screen showed a terrifying sight. 20 large ships appeared at the edge of the system. They were angular and insect-like, covered in weapon mounts and armor plating. Behind them came a massive dreadnought twice the size of any human vessel ever built. "That's the inevitable," Eric said quietly. "The same flagship we saw in the Aurora's recordings. They're moving toward thinner planets." Amber reported. "Standard formation, just like Arius." Eric watched as the alien fleet moved with perfect coordination. They didn't communicate with each other using any signals the Defender could detect. It was as if they all shared one mind. "Begin recording everything." Eric ordered. "Every detail about their ships, their weapons, their tactics. Earth needs to know exactly what we're facing." Then variants approached the first colony on Arcturus. The planet had minimal defenses. A few orbital platforms and a small defense force. Nothing that could stop the coming attack, sir. Kelly called out, her voice tight. "I'm picking up distress calls from the colony. They're begging for help." Eric gripped the arms of his chair. "Their orders were clear. Observe only, do not engage. The information they gathered would help save billions of lives. Later maintain position," he said, though each word felt like a betrayal. The bridge crew watched in silence as the Invarian ships began their attack. It was methodical and efficient. They disabled the orbital platforms first, then landed ground forces. Within an hour, the colony's main settlement was surrounded. Their ground troops move like insects, noted Security Chief Paul Evans as he watched the tactical display. "They don't take cover or show concern for casualties because they don't think as individuals," Amber said. "Each soldier is just a part of the whole." As the attack continued, Eric noticed something unusual. "Zoom in on their lead destroyer," ordered. The screen showed an Envarian vessel breaking formation. It moved away from the main attack, turning toward the outer system. "They've detected something," Eric said. "Amber, full scan of Sector 7. Amber worked her console quickly. "Sir, there's a small transport trying to escape the system. Looks like refugees from the colony." The Nelvarian destroyer accelerated toward the transport. There was no doubt about its intentions. Eric stood up slowly. Their orders were clear. "Do not engage, remain hidden. Gather intelligence." But 20 families were on that transport, people who just wanted to live. Sir Amber looked up at him, waiting for orders. Eric made his decision. "Bring weapons online. Plotin, intercept course." Brad looked up from engineering. "Commander, our orders." "I know our orders," Eric cut him off, "but we're not going to hide and watch while they murder innocent people." He turned to Thelm. "Lieutenant Sam Cooper, take US in full speed." The Defender moved out from its hiding place, engines flaring to life. It was a beautiful ship, sleek and powerful, Earth's newest technology packed into a vessel designed for both speed and strength. The Invarian destroyer has fired on the transport, Amber reported. "Their engines are hit. They're dead in space. Target the destroyer's weapon systems." Eric ordered. "Fire when ready." The Defender's main guns fired for the first time in battle. Bright energy beams shot across space and struck the alien ship with perfect accuracy. The Invarian vessel shuddered as its weapon mounts exploded. "Direct hit," Amber announced. "Their main weapons are off. Linny, open a channel to the transport." Eric ordered. Kelly worked her console. "Channel open this." Is Commander Eric Wells of the Earth Vessel Defender. "We're here to help prepare for emergency docking." On the screen, Invarian destroyer was turning to face them. Despite the damage, it was still dangerous. They're powering secondary weapons amber. Warned evasive maneuvers, Eric ordered continue approach to the transport. The Defender moved with surprising agility for its size. It dodged the aliens' return fire while closing the distance to the civilian transport. We're in range for emergency. Transport. Sam reported from the helm begging evacuation of the transport. Eric ordered and show me the main Envarian fleet. The screen split to show the alien armada near the planet. Several ships were breaking off, turning toward the Defender's position. They've noticed us, Paul said grimly. Eric nodded. How long until the transport is evacuated? 4 minutes at current rate. Kelly answered. We don't have 4 minutes, Amber said, looking at her readings. 3 Navarian vessels approaching at high speed. Eric made another decision once the last civilian is aboard. Set course for Earth maximum speed. The bridge fell silent. They all understood this was no longer just an intelligence mission. They had revealed themselves to the enemy. The element of surprise was gone, but they had also done something no one had done before. They had successfully fought back against the Invarians. Admiral Zexlon stood perfectly still. As he watched the recording for the third time, a single human ship had damaged one of his destroyers and escaped with the transport vessel. This had never happened before in 300 years of conquest. No species had ever successfully fought back against an Ilvarian attack force. Play it again. He ordered. The bridge crew of the Inevitable obeyed without question. The large screen showed the human vessel merging from the asteroid field, firing its weapons with surprising accuracy, and then escaping at high speed. What do we know about this ship? Zexlon asked. Subcommander Vextra approached with a data pad. It matches no known design in our database. The weapon signatures are unusual. They appear to use a form of directed energy we have not encountered before. And the species these humans we have limited information. Admiral, they appear to originate from the Sol system or long-range scans indicate they have colonies in nearby systems, but they are not a major power in this sector. Offspace. Zexlon's compound eyes narrowed. Yet they built a ship capable of damaging one of ours. It appears to be an isolated case. Admiral, perhaps their most advanced vessel. The rest of their fleet likely poses no serious threat. Zexlon was not convinced. In their courting, the human ship moved with purpose. Its attack was precise. Its escape was well executed. This was not luck. This was skill. Alter our course, he ordered suddenly. We will proceed directly to their home system. Vextra's mandibles clicked in surprise. Admiral, what about our planned conquests? They can wait. I want to know more about these humans. If they have more ships like this one, they could disrupt our expansion plans. Zexlon turned away from the screen. No species has ever dared to challenge us. These humans must learn the price of such defiance. The USS Defender raced back toward Earth, pushing its engines beyond their normal limits. In the medical bay, Dr. Judy Ross and her team worked to care for the 23 refugees they had rescued from the transport. Most were families with young children. Commander Eric Wells visited them after sending his report to Earth Command. He found the refugees huddled together, still frightened but grateful to believe. A small girl no more than 6 years old approached him. You're the one who saved us. Eric knelt down to her level. My whole crew helped save you. The girl's mother stepped forward. We thought we were going to die. No one fights the Invarians. No one even tries. Her eyes were wet with tears. Thank you. Eric nodded, uncomfortable with the praise. He still wasn't sure if he had made the right decision. His orders had been clear. Now the Invarians knew about Earth's military capabilities. The element of surprise was gone. His communicator beeped. Commander, we're receiving a priority message from Admiral Garcia, came Kelly's voice. On my way. Eric replied. On the bridge, the crew stood at attention as Admiral Garcia's face appeared on the main screen. Commander Wells. The Admiral began, his expression grave. I've reviewed your report. Your actions were in direct violation of your orders. Yes, sir, Eric acknowledged. I take full responsibility. That being said, Garcia continued, the data you gathered on Envarian capabilities is invaluable, and the 23 civilians you rescued are alive because of your decision. Eric waited for the reprimand that must be coming. Our long-range sensors have detected a change in the Envarian Fleet's movement. Garcia said instead, "They've altered course, they're heading directly for the Sol system." A chill went through Thebridge crew. Earth was now the target. "How long until they reach us?" Eric asked. "A fair current speed 3 weeks, Garcia replied. "We're accelerating our preparations, but we need more time." "What are your orders, Sir?" Garcia leaned closer. "The screen. You've seen them in action, Commander. You fought them, and one. I need you to slow them down. Delay their advance by any means necessary." "Sir, the Defender is just one ship," Eric pointed out. "The Envarians have an entire fleet. You won't be alone. I'm dispatching 3 additional warships to rendezvous with you near Alpha Centauri. Together, you'll form our first line of defense." Eric nodded. Understanding the enormity of the task ahead, "We'll do whatever he takes. Admiral. Earth is counting on you, Commander." Garcia out as the screen went dark. Eric turned to face his crew. They were watching him, waiting for his reaction. "You all heard the Admiral Hesed. We're going back into the fight against their entire fleet." Sam asked from the helm. "We don't need to defeat them," Eric explained. "Just slow them down by Earth. More time to prepare." Amber stepped forward. "I've been analyzing our engagement with their destroyer. Their ships are powerful, but they have weaknesses. Their targeting systems seem to struggle with rapid course changes, and they don't adapt quickly to unexpected tactics." Chief Engineer Brad added, "I think I can boost her shield efficiency by another 15%, and I have some ideas for improving our weapon systems." Eric felt a surge of pride in his crew. They were afraid anyone would be, but they were ready to face the challenge. Set course for Alpha Centauri. He ordered maximum speed. 3 days later, the Defender reached the rendezvous point near Alpha Centauri. 3 Earth warships were waiting: the Valiant, Dauntless, and the Resolute. All were new vessels, built with Earth's most advanced technology. Captain Susan Rodriguez of the Valiant was the senior officer of the small fleet. She invited the other commanders to meet on her ship. "We've all read your report, Commander Wells," Susan said once they were gathered in the Valiant's conference room. "You're the only one who's faced these Nelvarians and lived to tell about it." Eric activated a holographic display showing the Envarian fleet. They move with perfect coordination, like parts of a single organism, rather than individual ships. But that could be a weakness. They don't seem to handle unexpected situations well. Captain Neil Wilson of the Dauntless leaned forward. "What are you suggesting? That we fight unpredictably?" "Exactly." Eric confirmed. "Human unpredictability might be our greatest advantage." Captain Lavra Simmons of the Resolute studied the hologram. 4 ships against their entire fleet. "That's not a battle, that's a suicide mission." "We don't need to win," Eric reminded them. "We just need to slow them down, hit and run, disrupt their formation, force them to stop and regroup." The 4 commanders spent hours developing their strategy. They would use the dense asteroid field near the edge of the system as cover. They would strike from different directions, never engaging directly for more than a few minutes. As the meeting ended, Susan looked at each of them. "Earth is depending on us. We have to buy them as much time as possible." They returned to their ships and prepared for battle. The crews worked around the clock, making final adjustments to weapons and shields. Everyone understood what was at stake on the bridge of the Defender. Eric checked the latest sensor readings. Nelvarian fleet approaching, estimated arrival in 6 hours. Amber looked up from her tactical station. "Sir, do you think we can really do this? Slow them down enough to matter?" Eric considered the question carefully. "I believe we cannot because we have the strongest ships or the most powerful weapons, but because we have something the Envarians don't understand." "What's that, sir?" Eric smiled slightly. "The human will to survive against impossible odds. Throughout our history, we've faced enemies that should have defeated us, but we never gave up." What adapted? "We found a way." He turned to look at the starfield on the main screen, where soon the Envarian fleet would appear. "We're about to teach them a lesson about humanity they won't forget." 4 human warships waited in the asteroid field. Their engines were quiet, their weapons were ready. Crews checked and double-checked their systems. No one spoke much. They all knew what was coming. In the bridge of the Defender, Eric watched the long-range scanner. The Envarian fleet was approaching fast. Over 200 ships moving in perfect formation, All ships maintain communication. Silence. Eric ordered. Remember the plan. Wait for Captain Rodriguez's signal. Before moving, minutes passed slowly. The Envarian fleet grew closer. They showed no sign of detecting the human ships hiding among the asteroids. They're entering the field now, Amber reported from her tactical station. Her voice was steady despite the tension. Eric nodded. Weapon status. All systems ready, sir. The main Envarian fleet began to pass through the asteroid field. They moved with careful precision, navigating between the larger rocks. Their formation remained tight and organized. Then the signal came from the Valiant. 3 quick flashes of light, invisible to normal sensors, but clear to the human ship. Signal received. Kelly confirmed. Captain Rodriguez is initiating Fazione. All hands battle stations. Eric ordered. Prepare to move on. My mark. The Valiant emerged from behind a large asteroid. It fired its main weapons at 2 Envarian cruisers. The shots hit with perfect accuracy. Both alien ships suffered damage to their engine sections. Immediately the entire Envarian fleet reacted. They began to turn toward the Valiant. Now, Eric commanded. The Defender powered up its engines and shot out from its hiding place. It targeted the rear section of the Envarian formation and fired more alien ships. Took damage. At the same time, the Dauntless and Resolute attacked from different directions. The human ships moved quickly, striking and then changing course. Unpredictably, the Envarian fleet's perfect formation began to break. Some ships turned to face the Valiant, others moved toward the Defender. Their coordinated movement faltered as they tried to respond to attacks from multiple directions. It's working, Amber said with surprise. They can't maintain formation under attack from different angles. Eric watched the tactical display. The Envarians were struggling to adapt to the human tactics. Their hive mind coordination, usually a strength, was now a weakness. They couldn't respond effectively to the chaotic attack pattern. Begin Phase 2, Eric ordered. The 4 human ships executed a complex series of maneuvers. They darted between asteroids, fired at the Envarian ships, then disappeared again. The Envarians fired back, but their shots mostly hit empty space or asteroids on the bridge of the inevitable. Admiral Zealand watched with growing anger. His perfect fleet was in disarray. 4 small human ships were disrupting his entire invasion force. Target the lead human vessel, he ordered. Concentrate all fire. The Envarian fleet began to focus their attacks on the Valiant. Dozens of energy beams struck the human ship's shields. The Valiant is taking heavy fire, Kelly reported on the Defender. Eric made a quick decision move to support Captain Rodriguez. All weapons target the ships firing on the Valiant. The Defender accelerated toward the center of the battle. Its main guns fired, rapidly striking several Novarian vessels. The Dauntless and Resolute followed, adding their firepower. The Envarian attack on the Valiant lessened as they were forced to defend against the new threat, but the damage was already severe. Valiant reports shield failure. Kelly announced they're taking direct hits to the hull. Tell Captain Rodriguez to withdraw, Eric ordered. We'll cover her retreat. The Valiant began to move away from the battle, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. The other 3 human ships formed a protective screen around it. Envarian vessels are regrouping, Amber warned. They're adapting to our tactics. Eric could see it on the tactical display. The alien fleet was starting to move, with more individual initiative ships were breaking from the main group to pursue specific targets. They're learning, he realized. Phase 3 now. Human ships deployed special devices. They had prepared. The devices began to emit powerful electromagnetic pulses and false sensor readings. The space around the asteroid field became filled with confusing signals. The Envarian ships load their sensors, unable to distinguish real targets from false ones. Some began firing at sensor ghosts. It's working, Brad reported from engineering. Their targeting systems are confused. Bin withdrawal. Eric ordered all ships fall back to the secondary position. Therefore human warships used the confusion to slip away. They regrouped at a safe distance and assessed the damage. The Valiant was badly hurt. Large sections of its hull were damaged. Its main weapons were offline. The Dauntless and Resolute had taken moderate damage. The Defender had fared the best, with only minor systems affected. How many Envarian ships did we disable? Eric asked. Amber checked her readings. 17. Destroyed or severely damaged. Another 31 with moderate damage. Ash looked up with a small smile. We hurt them, sir, and delayed them. Eric added. That was our mission, Captain. Rodriguez's face appeared on the communication screen behind her. Emergency crews worked to repair damage to the Valiant's bridge. Good work, everyone, she said, though her face showed pain from an injury to her forehead. The Novarians are still trying to make sense of our sensor jamming. They've stopped their advance completely. How long until they figure it out? Captain Wilson of the Dauntless asked. Hours, maybe a day if we're lucky, Rodriguez answered. But the Valiant can't take another fight. We've lost engine control and life support is failing on 3 decks. Eric considered their options. We need to get the Valianto safety, Captain Simmons, and the Resolute escort them back toward Earth. Yes, Commander Simmons replied, but that will leave just you and the Dauntless. 2 ships are enough for what I have in mind, Eric said. Well, continue to harass the Nelvarians. Keep them off balance. The captains discussed the details quickly. Time was short. Finally, Rodriguez gave Eric a solemn nod. Good luck, Commander Wells. Don't take unnecessary risks. We'll buy Earth as much time as we can, Eric promised. The Resolute took position alongside the damaged Valiant. Together, they began the journey back to Earth. The Defender and Dauntless remained behind, hiding one summer among the asteroids. They would continue the fight. 2 ships against an armada on the bridge of the Defender. The crew was quiet. They had survived the first battle, but everyone knew the next would be harder. The Envarians were adapting, learning. Do you think Earth will be ready in time, sir? Amber asked quietly. Eric looked at the tactical display. The Envarian fleet was still disorganized, but they would recover soon. I don't know, he admitted, but every hour we delay them gives Earth another hour to prepare. And right now time is the most valuable thing we can give our people. He turned to face his crew. Rest while you can when the Envarians get moving again. We'll be ready for round 2. The crew returned to their duties with renewed determination. They had accomplished something remarkable today. They had proven that the Envarians could be hurt, could be confused, could betulate for the first time since their empire began. The Nelvarians had met an enemy they couldn't simply overwhelm. They had met humanity. 2 more days passed. The Defender and Dauntless continued their hit-and-run attacks against the Envarian fleet. They would strike quickly, then hide among the asteroids or in the shadow of nearby moons. Each attack slowed the alien advance. Each hour bought more time for Earth, but the cost was high. The Dauntless had lost its main engines during the last attack. It drifted in space, trying to make repairs. The Defender's shields were failing. Half its weapon systems were offline. The crew was exhausted, working around the clock to keep their ship fighting on the bridge of the Defender. Eric studied its latest sensor readings. The Envarian fleet was moving again, this time with escort ships sweeping ahead to prevent ambush. They've adapted to our tactics, he told his senior officers during a brief meeting. We need something new. Brad Miller rubbed his tired eyes. The engines can't take much more. Commander, we've pushed them beyond safety limits, and we're down to 30% on ammunition for the main guns, Amber added. Eric nodded. He understood their situation was desperate. What about the new targeting algorithm you were working on? Amber straightened slightly. It's ready, sir. It should let us hit their command ships more accurately, even with our damaged weapons. Good. We'll focus all our remaining firepower on their leadership vessels. Eric turned to Communications Officer Kelly. Any word from Captain Wilson? The Dauntless reports engine repairs are progressing, but slowly. They need at least 8 more hours. Eric knew they didn't have 8 hours. The Envarian fleet would reach them much sooner. We'll draw them away from the Dauntless, he decided. Give them time to complete repairs. The senior officers exchanged worried glances. They all understood what that meant. The Defender would face the entire Envarian fleet alone. Prepare the ship for combat, Eric ordered. We leave in 30 minutes. As the others returned to their stations, Paul Evans, the security chief, remained behind. Sir, the crew is ready to fight, he said quietly. But you should know we all understand. This might be our last mission. Eric placed a hand on Paul's shoulder. As long as we buy Earth, more time, it will be worth it. The Defender moved out from its hiding place, its engines strained. As it accelerated toward the edge of the asteroid field, ahead, the Anvarian fleet continued its advance toward Earth. Open a channel. Eric ordered all frequencies. Kelly worked her console. Channel open, sir. Eric stood tall as she addressed the enemy Anvarian fleet. This is Commander Eric Wells of the Earthship. Defender, for days we have shown you that humans will not surrender, will not be conquered. Turn back now or face the full might of Earth's defenses. There was no response at first. Then the main screen showed Admiral Zealand. The alien's compound eyes seemed to study Eric with cold calculation. Human Commander Zexlon's voice rasped, your primitive vessel has been an annoyance, nothing more. Your tactics are now predictable. Your defeat is inevitable, perhaps. Eric replied calmly, but how many more ships will you lose before you reach Earth? How much weaker will your fleet be when you face our main defense force? The Anvarian Admiral's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. You have delayed us, yes, damaged some of our vessels, but we are many and you are few. This game ends. Now the screen went dark immediately. The Anvarian fleet changed course. 50 ships broke from the main group and moved toward the Defender's position. They've taken the bait, Amber reported. They're pursuing us, not searching for the Dauntless. Set course for the gas giant. Eric ordered full speed. The Defender raced toward the massive planet at the edge of the system. Its swirling storms and strong gravitational pull made it dangerous to navigate, but also offered places to hide. The freight Anvarian ships followed, closing the distance. Quickly their weapons began to fire energy beams, slicing through space around the human ship. Evasive maneuvers. Eric commanded, don't let them get a clean shot. Sam Cooper worked the helm controls with expert skill. The Defender twisted and turned, making itself a difficult target, but it couldn't dodge everything. Several hits struck the ship's failing shields. Shields down to 15%. Brad reported from engineering. One more direct hit, and they'll fail completely. Distance to gas giant. Eric asked. 2 minutes. At current speed, Sam answered. We won't make it, Amber said, watching the tactical display. They're gaining on us. Eric made his final gamble. Divert all power to engines and forward shields. Amber, prepare to fire the new targeting program at my command. The Defender surged forward, its last energy reserves pouring into the engines. The ship shuddered as it pushed beyond its design limits. The Anvarian ships continued to fire. Most shots missed as AM executed a series of random course changes, but one struck the Defender's rear section. Direct hit. Paul reported. X-12 through 14 depressurizing emergency bulkheads activated. Entering gas giant's upper atmosphere. Sam announced. The Defender plunged into the swirling clouds of the giant planet. Turbulence rocked the ship violently behind them. The Anvarian vessels hesitated at the edge of the atmosphere. They're not following us in, Kelly observed. They're smarter than that. Eric said. They'll wait for us to come out. He turned to Amber. Do you have a target lock on their command ship? Amber worked her console, fighting against the turbulence. Acquiring target lock established. It's at the edge of a range. Fire everything we have left. The Defender's remaining weapons fired from within the cloud cover. The specially programmed missiles and energy beams shot upward toward the waiting Anvarian fleet on the bridge of the inevitable. Admiral Zexlon received urgent warnings. Incoming fire from within the planet's atmosphere, reported his sensor officer. Impossible, Zexlon said. No ship could target effectively from there. The human missile struck 3 Anvarian vessels, including Zexlon's command ship. The Sue's inevitable shuddered as explosions tore through its lower decks. Damage report. Zexlon demanded. Main power systems hit, responded his engineering officer. Propulsion damaged. Weapons at 60% capacity for the first time in his long career. Zexon felt uncertainty. These humans fought like no species he had ever encountered inside the gas giant's atmosphere. The Defender was failing. Systems overloaded. Hull plates buckled under the pressure. We can't stay here much longer. Brad warned. The hull integrity is critical. Did our attack hide anything? Eric asked. Amber checked her sensors, confirmed hits on 3 ships, including what appears to be their command vessel. A small cheer went through the bridge crew. Now for our exit strategy. Eric said set course for the polar opening, maximum speed there. Defender struggled through the dense atmosphere, heading for a thinner region near the planet's pole. The ship was barely holding together. As they emerged from the clouds, they saw something unexpected. In the distance, hundreds of new ships were arriving. For a moment, Eric thought they were more Invarian reinforcements. Then Kelly shouted with joy, "Sir, those are Earth ships. The defense fleet is here." On the main screen, Admiral Garcia's face appeared. "Commander Wells, your delaying action worked. You gave us the time we needed. Earth's full fleet is assembled and ready for battle." Eric looked at the tactical display in amazement. Over 300 human warships had arrived, including massive new dreadnoughts. "That dwarfed event, the Envarian flagship," Admiral Eric said, his voice with emotion. "The Defender is severely damaged. We need assistance. Help is already on the way," Garcia assured him. "You and your crew have done enough, more than enough. You showed us they can be beaten." As rescue ships approached the battered Defender, Eric looked at his exhausted crew. They had accomplished their mission. They had given Earth to Meadow prepare. They had shown that humans would not be conquered easily for 3 centuries. The Invarians had conquered worlds with ease. Now a single human warship had obstructed their path, and everything had changed. The Battle of Alpha Centauri began that day. It would be remembered as first major conflict between humanity and the Invarian Empire. But Tavarian knew that the true turning point had come earlier, when a lone ship named Defender had proven that even the mightiest empire could be challenged by those with the courage to stand against it.